Here we are in part 6 of the male reproductive system, page 1034. We just took a look at this diagram right here on this page, 1034, and we're going to take a moment to look at this right here. One of the things that comes to us in our training is that, especially in the psychology here, in behavioral aspects of gender development, is that males are already cycling like males and females are already cycling like females at the time of birth. So there is a sine wave of cycling through the 29-day cycle, or the moon phases, shall we say. But at any rate, the male has a more tonic manner of cycling, and the female has a more pronounced higher amplitude type of cycling. Part of this difference in cycling of FSH and LH has to do with the male androgenation during the time during fetal development. So you can see here that after embryology, embryological development, and once we reach the fetal stage, there is this period of androgenation, and the level of testosterone, or androgens, shall we say, reaches a fairly significant peak and then drops off before the moment of birth. It again peaks early on and then drops off again, and there is this long latent period which then goes through a change somewhere in this vicinity in terms of age, and then picks up again through adulthood. Okay, so this is an important detail that determines the nature of cycling. Not to say that males don't cycle, they do, and some males cycle as, how shall I say, with the amplitudes of a female in terms of their FSH and LH outputs. And females sometimes can be rather tonic in some cases. So there's a variation in a theme and overlapping. Okay, so then this brings us to a close here, and we'll begin to pick up some ideas of secondary sexual characteristics. Let's take a look at some of these details. It says in some target cells, testosterone must be transformed into another steroid to exert its effects. In the prostate, particularly, the testosterone is converted to DHT, dihydrotestosterone, before it can bind to various places in the brain. Also, testosterone is converted to estradiol, a female sex hormone, to bring about certain stimulatory effects. So one could say that male uses one hormone to accomplish many outcomes. Females have two hormones at sort of different ends of the spectrum. Progesterone could be viewed as somewhat anabolic, and estrogen might be viewed in a slightly different manner, and that the mixture that females get at various points of the cycle make up for what the male has to do with only one original hormone. So it's interesting how this works. So at any rate, we're going to note here that there are secondary sexual characteristics of the male, and in this case we're going to consider skeletal muscle aspects in terms of above the waistline. There is significantly more amplitude to the outcome of skeletal features and connective tissue features, whether it's muscular or bone makeup, the shoulders and upper body development, including the face, and also things like the larynx will go through changes. That are more rapid and significant one could say that the female will eventually, if she lives a long time, catch up with the male in certain characteristics. So her voice may deepen over time and so on. Then there's these other sexual characteristics that involve the development of hair. So there's axillary hair, pubic hair, but then the male will also begin to develop facial hair at a certain age. Enlargement of the larynx is described right there. And they get into more details in this section over here. There used to be the belief that libido was based purely on male testosterone, and that females who had some male testosterone possibly in their adrenal cortex might be experiencing libido at higher levels. But now it's recognized that this molecule, DHEA, is the libido molecule for both genders. So it turns out that libido might be something much more widely experienced throughout humanity and not limited to one or the other genders. Okay, so that's, you can read further details about this at your leisure, and we'll move on next to the female reproductive anatomy and physiology.